365 Days of Horsemanship, day 172. So it's just coming up on 8 p.m. Definitely mourning the end of the long days, but you know, it's not so bad. I guess we get the payoff in the summer when the days are super long. So today I was on had a really long day at work, finished at about 6:30, and I hadn't had anything to eat, so went home and had just a little snack and came up here. I was really tired after work and I'm feeling a little bit crummy. I think I've got like a little winter like sniffly cold or something, so yeah, so I was just generally feeling a bit lethargic. And so I came to the yard with basically like no expectations. I was just going to be proud of myself that I came. And as I was kind of like arriving, I was thinking to myself, you know, there's going to be so many of these days where I'm coming and it's dark. And if I want to stay progressive, I just need to find ways to be progressive in the dark. And I was really pleasantly surprised, actually. I came to Lawrence first. He approached me. That is the good thing about the dark, is the horses are more curious about your approach, I think. So I'm more likely at this point to get that approach from them. Certainly from Lawrence anyway. He came up to meet me, had a little scratch. My timing wasn't great with the scratching. It's more difficult it's hard enough for me in the light, to be honest, to detect all those little movements, motions and shifting of weight. So that's kind of okay. Then just grazed with him for a little bit, just got my centre back after my long day. And he had a nice like a focus change, and I was going to leave, and then it just felt like not quite the right time, so I decided to go in and just play a little bit with the touching distance at his chest, just to see if I could get a good feeling from that. And actually I was quite surprised. It took a few minutes. And it was interesting because it felt like the same pattern that happened the day before, but I saw it through. So what happened the previous day is I had held my hand on his chest until he'd started walking. And then before his feet started moving, I'd taken my hand away. And that had led to some interesting timing afterwards, where I'd waited for him to blow out afterwards, but it's just still felt like it was kind of a bit of flight. This time today, I had my hand on his chest. He started walking and I walked with him. And there was some concern. There was some tension in the walk, but then it stopped. Then he stopped and grazed again a little bit. And then he started looking up and around and sniffing things. And at that point, I then took my hand off his chest. So it was good. It felt like we went through like just literally tipping into a little bit of concern and then back down into curiosity. And so that was really interesting. I think I want to speak to Elsa about that and just find out if that pattern is okay, I think. I think if it's getting better, you know, then that is okay. And I think it's just personal choice. Like, I don't think there's an okay or not okay necessarily. I think, you know, the thing is if I don't put my hand on his chest, put him into, you know, then I have to go backwards and backwards to all these tiny little things. And it takes quite a long time. And I don't know there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it taking a long time. I think it's about what I feel is acceptable, and what I feel is reasonable, a reasonable amount of concern on his part. And I think that's an interesting question from my perspective, because I think I'm moving towards the idea that it's okay to have a very small amount of manufactured concern. I don't know if that's the case in this setting. It's certainly more training and less freedom, but I think, you know, I think it's reasonable. I think he's walking, but it was interesting. Like, I took my hand away and then he kind of grazed a little bit more, and then he started walking again. And I thought it's really interesting, and it felt like, and it's felt like this to me before, sometimes if he's stressed about something, it's almost like he just needs to take a walk to think about it, and he's quite happy to take me on the walk. And so I feel like, you know, he knows, as he does when I go to halter him, you know, he could have pulled away or moved, you know, away from my hand, or walked considerably faster away from me, as he's done many times in the past. And I think if he did that, I would feel more like that was flight. Whereas this felt like it was just on the edge of yield, and I was sort of happy with it. And so I think it's just about defining whether or not that's really concern, whether that's really fight or flight, or whether it's just like tolerance, but in order for him to tolerate it, he needs to be moving. Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I think I just need to ask Elsa about that, but I was really happy, you know, it felt good. I definitely felt like he could have played with me for longer, but honestly, I mean, I was just happy to have had such a varied and engaging and interesting session, you know, that wasn't just me coming up and, you know, being in flow with him for 5 minutes and going home. So I was really pleased with that. I went to Mia, who was resting, which was lovely. She was just sleeping, so I was just chilling with her, and some of the other horses came along. I started sleeping, and so it was just about having good timing when they were approaching and coming past them, and then keeping walking until I found the new place of flow. And yeah, it felt good. And again, that was another time where I think if I'd have had an hour, you know, I could have stayed and more things might have happened. So that's nice too. Definitely, I feel really good about it. And I think it's really nice to feel like there's so much more variety in my sessions than there used to be. And I really feel like I'm coming in every day at the moment, and I'm being able to play with the concepts that are important to me, which I don't think I've always felt that way in the past. But these feel like really meaty sessions. You know, I really feel like we're achieving things. I feel like I can almost feel the money going into the bank. And I think that's the connection. I do feel that connection more from both of them these days than I ever used to. And so that's really exciting. I'm just really tired today, and I think I need to, you know, allow that for myself. I need to allow my limitations, you know, yeah. And I mean, I'm just so proud of myself that I've come and I've had such good sessions, you know, and I want to really feel energized to come again. And I think, you know, in the same way as the horses, I think in some ways it's good to have these sessions where I want more, you know, I wish I could have stayed longer, because that really inspires the motivation to come back again the next day. So tomorrow will probably be a similar setup. So yeah, so I'll pop up around this time, probably, hopefully slightly earlier tomorrow, but around this time, and yeah, see what the darkness brings me again. But I'm feeling optimistic after today that I will be able to find things to do in the dark. And I think it'll be good because it'll stop me overthinking. It's not as easy to be as predatory in the dark, because you just can't like focus on them too hard. Like, I'm just gonna have to wait for the bigger focus changes, and that's okay. So yeah, so it's good. So it was a good session. Ultimately, it was a good session.